Hi there, it's Steph. Thanks for popping by. Today is another card made with that stamp set from Sheena the Glass. You may have seen a card I made previously for my Brusho miniseries. Um, the idea with that card is I like to have a stamp set and to do as many different designs as possible because I know we can't all afford to buy all the stamp set we want. And I like the idea that we use the stamp set we have to their not to their maximum potential, but as much as possible. I need to apologize for the light on this video because I must have been just under the light and my camera is getting a bit confused and it was really bright, so I tried to turn down the brightness. I hope you can still see clear enough. Hopefully I won't do that on my next video. So on this card, the idea was, I was thinking about, imagine you're walking on the street and somewhere in China or Japan, I'm not sure which one has the most lanterns, and you're looking up, it's the night or the evening, and you're looking up and you see all this lantern bright in the kind of sky. They're not in the sky, they're attached to wires, but you know, they're above your head and they're bright and they're shiny. And the ones at the front are the big ones, and the ones at the back are further away, so they are the smaller ones. So that was kind of the idea I had when I created that design. And I decided to pick the rainbow colors because I just think they're pretty. So I used a Brusho, I diluted it quite a lot to make this kind of light wash, and then I put extra color or extra liquid paint in one spot, and I don't normally let my cards air dry, but I decided to let this one air dry to see what the difference would be. And I've seen some people on Instagram, I don't want to mention names because I don't know if that's okay, but I've seen some watercolorists on Instagram whose work I find absolutely amazing and who use these rainbow colors, and I'm trying to learn from the card and try to do something as nice, basically. So once my first layer is dried, you can see, for example, on the red one, because I left more liquid on one side, it's a bit more intense. So I tried to add color in the spots that were from the first layer that were more intense, and I tried to add more onto that so it becomes even more intense. And I like the way it dries. Normally I try to do seamless work, except if I go for the sketchy look. But here it's a complete opposite. You actually you purposely create, seams is probably not the right word, but you purposely create that, you see the edge every time you add that layer, and that's another kind of look which I think is still quite cool. So I keep going with my colors, and I think I must have used a lemon, the orange. There's two different types of red in that Brusho set, and I can't remember which one I used, to be honest. I think I used the leafy green, the turquoise, there's the ultramarine, and the purple. And I just add layers. I mean, I got lucky that it dried quite quickly, actually. I didn't actually have to wait long. Moving from one lantern to another, it gave it time to air dry, so that was quite cool. And when I did the background, I started with a very light wash of black. I think I may have mentioned that in a previous video, but I'm mentioning it again. That black is actually made of different colors. And when you put the water onto it, you can see this, I think there's yellow or orange and reds and maybe blue. And all these colors kind of melt with the water. And once they melt all together, you get some sort of black or grey, depends how much water you put in it. So you really need to mix it together well before you apply it to your card, otherwise you're going to get stains. You can't see it on that card from here, but there happened to be some pigment. I had some 2 or 3 yellow pigments that ended up on that blue turquoise lantern at the front. I mean, it's okay, it was tiny and it's fine, you know, it looks okay, but just be careful when you get the Brusho out of the little pot and onto your palette. Just do that away from your card so it doesn't fly around, and clean your mat when you're done painting, otherwise you risk to transfer that onto your next work. So the reason I added that weirdly dark background is because, as I said, it's kind of a night scene. I didn't want it to be all dark because it's a card and I wanted it to be cheerful, but I tried to add some darkness under the lanterns or where there were 2 or 3 lanterns near each other, and to kind of create that depth. So I'm actually quite pleased with the result. So then I let it dry for a good maybe 24 hours, maybe even more, because I didn't do card over the weekend, so maybe it was even 48 hours. Anyway, and I went back to it and I decided to start migrating with some stays on ink on a piece of vellum, and I got it wrong. So I turned it around and I stamped again. But stays on ink is great for vellum, it dries really quickly, and I do a lot of birthday cards because that's, you know, most people I know have, there's more birthdays than anything else. You could do weddings, you could do births, but every year there's more birthdays than anything else. So I like to do birthday cards quite a lot. Then I placed my vellum onto my card and I attached it with a little bit of painter's tape, and I've used that painter's tape a few times, so it's not very sticky. So bear that in mind. If your painter's tape is sticky, don't use it on your watercolor card because you will tear the paper if you're not careful, so just be really careful to that. Then I attach it with my double-sided tape, and I said that in previous videos, that tape is much more expensive than what I used to use, but it's so much easier and I save so much time. So if you're not using that, think about it. I then used the Spectrum glittery pen, I think that's his name, it might not quite be the name. I wanted to add a bit of shine, and I went really light-handed because I didn't want to lift off the color, the watercolor. So if you do something like that, be careful. And then I used a little gem that I've received as a present from a fellow crafter, and I added a few gems here and there. So I hope you like it. I think it's a really vibrant, really colorful card, and yeah, I really like it. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day. Bye.